Willen, NBA champion, Festus Ezeli. I am Bonte Hill, and we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, Bully. 72 down, 10 to go.
10 left, and Warriors have to finish a game above the Clippers because the Clippers own the tiebreaker. Important to be playing good basketball. Got to get one tonight in New Orleans.
No doubt the last 10, of course, these next 3 on the road, they got to win them all here if they want a chance to get out of the box and be in the top 6 of the Western Conference playoffs. But the ups and downs of Draymond Green's career, a new Dubs Talk podcast has been released, Fezzy Fell.
Well, as you're looking forward to the end of the season, it's also time to look back and reflect a little bit. Draymond Green gets real with Garrett Burke and Monty Poole on the podcast today.
No doubt about that. And we'll have the latest on Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry, will he or will he not play? Curry? What's going on here? Curry. He looks like he's going to get ready to roll at the Smoothie King Center.
Flurry?
Curry. What's going on here on Warriors Pregame Live, presented by Comcast Business. He will be back today against the New Orleans Pelicans. He's expected to return after missing 2 games as the Warriors were 7-5 without the chef this season. Of course, we're fortunate to see him tonight because that fall was crucial. The fact that it was only a contusion says a lot about how tough Steph Curry is. There's no structural damage whatsoever, so he will be ready to roll against the Pelicans as the Warriors are desperate for a victory after the last 2 nights on the road. Welcome everybody back to Warriors Pregame Live. Mully, Fezzy, I am Bonte, and that is great news, Fezzy Phil, that the chef is expected to return tonight and return to the starting lineup.
Well, you got Steph Curry returning. That's 25 points and 6 assists. Morale is going to be boosted because the leader of the team is back, especially after a tough loss to the Miami Heat last game. The Warriors feel like this 10-game road trip and this 10-game streak right down towards the end of the season is the most important one. And having him back in the lineup is going to get the offense back firing where it should be.
Yeah, his stats speak for themselves, but Steph Curry, he is the franchise. Everything revolves around Steph Curry. So offensively, this team needs to get back on track, get those turnovers down, get that rhythm back. And now you're going to have 2 big-time playmakers with Steph and Jimmy Butler. And maybe most importantly, maybe not tonight, but moving forward, having 2 closers at the end of the game in Steph and Jimmy.
And the spacing, right, that they missed against the Miami Heat. The starters in that first half, as he scored 10 points. Overall, 38 points against the Miami Heat as they were blown out in the Jimmy Butler return game. So the spacing and the gravity will be back as well.
And this Pelicans team, they have been struggling, yes. But on any given night, any team can play well. The Miami Heat will show you that. They held the starters for the Warriors to 10 points. Yes, you missed Steph Curry, but that's not going to help against the defense of the Miami Heat, or against the offense of the Miami Heat that shot 68% from the 3-point line. So Steph is going to help on the offensive end. Defensively, the Warriors need to lock back into the number 2 defense over the last 21 games.
Yeah, the last 3 opponents have shot over 55% from the field. But to me, I think that's where, Steve Kerr always talks about connectivity, the connectivity of their offense to their defense and their defense to the offense. So having a good pace to the game when you get stops or you get steals, getting out in transition, in the half court, controlling those possessions through Jimmy Butler, getting a good shot up and getting a shot on goal, getting those turnovers down, continue to get to the free throw line. And then defensively, who knows who's playing tonight? But make sure you have a good idea of what that individual's strengths and weaknesses are. Take them away and get this W.
Yeah, you mentioned the last 3 opponents, 56.4% shooting for the Toronto Raptors, 55.8% for Miami, and of course the Atlanta Hawks shot 57% last Saturday against the Dubs. So maybe or maybe not, Stephen Curry is the solution to all the Warriors' recent problems as we connect. Courtesy of Comcast Business, every connection counts with the great KB, Garrett Burke, and Dade County, Dalton, Petaluma's finest. I'm not sure, Dalton Johnson, Warriors reporter here at NBC Sports Bay Area. But KB, is it that simple? Steph is the solution to the Warriors' issues?
Well, it's Steph, but it's health. Health is the basis of everything here. So is Steph doing okay? What's GP2 going to be dealing with in the next few days? But even, can you make sure Jimmy is feeling good? Can you make sure Draymond's feeling good? How about Pods and Moody as well? All of the guys who combine for good starts, get that starting lineup, getting games kicked off in a good way. So that's the simple answer, health. But Dalton, of course, can go a little bit deeper than I can.
Yeah, of course, having Steph Curry back is the quick fix, making some shots. That's going to help out, especially one game after the starters were outscored by 50 points compared to the Miami Heat starters. But it's, of course, about more than that. When I was in Miami after the game, I point blank asked Jimmy Butler, what needs to change? And he said, probably the effort coming out of the jump. That's the biggest thing to me. This is a team that is 12-23 when trailing after the first quarter. You look at these last two losses, you guys brought up the defense, right? The Hawks and the Heat, they combined to shoot over 56% from the field, over 52% from the three-point line. The Miami Heat, they shot 68% from three. That is a franchise record and the highest mark that the Warriors have given up since 2018. A 40-point first quarter for the Hawks, a 17-point halftime lead for the Heat. So it's about asserting yourself and setting a tone. Those are numbers that Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler are going to take personally. It's always been about the shooters around Steph Curry and how to find scoring around Steph Curry as well. But I think going out there and setting the tone from the beginning of a defensive-minded team is going to take the Warriors a long way for the rest of this road trip.
With that Miami game in particular, I know we joke about South Beach flu, but when you hear people not ready to come out and play, do you think this is part of a trend? Do you see something a little bigger here, or was that a one-off because of location?
Well, it might have had a little bit to do with it. I can't, get too deep into that. But again, this was the first losing streak since Jimmy Butler's been here. The first time that they've lost 2 games in a row. So I think that when you bring a presence like Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, they're going to want to flip the script really, really quickly. And of course, adding Steph Curry, what does that do to the morale? It is an automatic injection, a big-time boost for this team. So you just want to make sure that things don't spiral. Yeah. There's only 10 games to go, and the way that the standings are right now, you want to right the ship right now and do not let this really start to snowball in the worst time possible.
Yeah, I feel like because it was both the Hawks and the Heat, it was a 2-game sample there, that maybe it wasn't, a one-off for Miami. But yeah, with 10 games left, as he's saying, the Warriors don't have a lot of room for mistakes right now, and they need better starts to these games.
Yeah, we'll get to the Wild Wild Western Conference a little bit later, but the Clippers are surging. However, courtesy of the Warriors X account, Stephen Curry is active today against the Pels, so that is great news. What's not great news is Gary Payton II, who has been playing so well over his last 13 games, shooting 48% from the three-point line, 64.5% from the floor. He will be out indefinitely as he has suffered a partial tear of a ligament in his left thumb. It happened Tuesday night against the Miami Heat. For more on GP2's rehab and recovery, here is Dr. Seth Sherman with tonight's Stanford Medicine Injury Report.
You can protect it in a splint, but come out of that splint early for range of motion so that you don't get weakness or atrophy of those muscles. Just because you're not stressing the ligaments, those ropes that hold the bones together, doesn't mean you can't, work some of the muscles so you don't lose tremendous time in that regard. And so, I'm sure he's working with the trainers and or occupational therapy or other, on that initially. And then, once they make a reassessment and see that the trajectory is positive, then you move from that initial period of protection onwards towards some individual kind of basketball related drills. You see what type of protection, if any, is able to be utilized. You can do some sort of taping, wrapping, small custom molded splints, etc. But obviously that can't interfere with